I had 5 mothers. People who know me would agree. I was naughty. I was always naughty. I was naughty then, I am naughty now. And then 2013 I quit. 2013 I decided that now I'm going to be on my own. Enough of that. Was 24 years already into the corporate world.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. If you're in the corporate world and if you have a certain talent, certain skills that you would like to become the coach of, and you would like to coach others on those skills, it is important that you get properly trained on how to be a coach, right? A doctor cannot just go and practice without having gone through those rigorous trainings. An engineer cannot just become an engineer without the rigorous training. So is with the world of coaching. If you have to become a coach, you need to be certified. You need to learn the art of coaching. And that's where UV consultants come into picture. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week is VP Menon, the founder of UV Consultants. And if you're a Toastmaster, or if you know anything about Toastmasters, you definitely know VP Menon. He's a very famous personality in the world of Toastmasters. He is the member of one of the earliest clubs in Dubai, and he's a senior Toastmaster, a DTM, a distinguished Toastmaster. Let's welcome VP Sir. VP Sir, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sachin, for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you.
So, VP Sir, like we always do on the Be Your Own Boss podcast, let's start with your journey right from the beginning. Tell us about your parents, your siblings, where were you born, your childhood memories.
So, I was actually born in Kerala. My parents are from Thrissur, which is in Kerala. But I moved to Bombay when I was like in my second grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents packed me off to Bombay for studies. So the funny thing is, I, when I was born, I had 5 mothers. Meaning I had my mother and I had 4 elder sisters who were like mothers, because my parents had 4 daughters, 1, 2, 3, 4. After the birth of the 4th daughter, after a gap of 11 years, I was born. So I had 5 mothers, and so some of my sisters had got married and moved to Bombay. So my mom decided to pack me off to Bombay for studies.
Okay.
So I grew up in Bombay, been with my aunties, my sisters, etc. My parents joined me in Bombay only when I was in the 8th grade or something.
Okay.
Yeah, till then they were there in Kerala. They used to keep coming and going. So I grew up in Bombay. I've been in many parts of Bombay, starting with Vasai. All those days it used to be called Basin Road.
Yeah.
So I was in St. Augustine High School.
Okay.
Then I moved to Borivali, St. Francis High School. Then finally we moved to Goregaon. So I was in Vivek Vidyalaya.
Okay.
Then of course I continued in Vivek Vidyalaya, my schooling, college, etc. And now we are based in Goregaon since then. So
Okay.
base is
And
Bombay.
growing up, what kind of a child were you? Like, were you the studious type or the naughty?
I would like to say I was a very nice kid, but I don't think many of my people who know me would agree. I was naughty. I was always naughty. I was naughty then, I am naughty now. Probably that's what I like about myself, that I'm
That's what everybody realizes about you.
it's always been that said, that naughtiness did get us into trouble sometimes. Of course I had friends who were naughtier than me and got us into trouble. But looking back now at this age, I feel some of the things that I did was probably not that good. It was risky.
Yeah.
We did it in those times, so it was fun. when we did it,
The
yeah.
golden days of childhood.
Yeah. But I'll be 60 in another 3 years. But I honestly don't feel I'm 57. Physically probably yes, I'm aging, but inside me I'm still a kid. I always tell people, we always, the wise man says, always keep the child alive in you. And I always say, yeah, I've never grew up. See, you can see me, eh? I'm so close to the ground. I'm always a kid. so, so yeah.
And growing up, did you have aspirations to become an entrepreneur? Did you think you will become?
I had no clue what I want to do in life. I absolutely no clue. So once I finished my graduation, I was like, I need to get some job, you know. We're from a very well-off family, so yeah. So I wanted to start earning. Of course, we used to do part-time jobs and all when we were in college, but after graduation, we wanted to get into a good job. And those days, government job, I mean, that was the job to look into. I'm talking about what I finished my 10th in 83, so probably in the late 80s. But then I was lucky to get an internship or an entry-level job with a Japanese company, yeah, in Bombay. So I worked with them from 1989 is when I joined them to 1999. And those 10 years with the Japanese was a real eye-opener for me. That's where I realized what a professional world looks like, That's where I picked up a lot of good things from. I learned a lot from them. And that's what set the base for my professional journey. So I got into, by chance, I got into a trading company. They were a trading company, So I got into trading, international trade, and then moved on to logistics
Trading
and supply
as in
chain.
Stocks type of trade?
Import and export.
Import and
Yeah,
export.
yeah.
Okay.
So we used to import a lot of. So I was basically in the textile material department. I used to import a lot of yarn, fiber.
Okay.
We used to sell a lot of yarns to the Surat market. Who would then make fabric and re-export it, polyester yarns and stuff. Anyway, and we used to export a lot of stuff from India. So that got me into the trading, which then took me into logistics and then supply chain, and that's how life continued. So.
And how did Dubai happen? When did you
So it was 89 to 99. So by the time I was finishing my 10 years,
Yeah.
a lot of my friends, they move jobs every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I was stuck with this because I was so comfortable there and I enjoyed it. So it was 10 years and I was like, the closer I got to 10 years, it got me worried. Like, what am I doing 10 years with the same company? So I said, I can't work for more than 10 years. So I decided, I had a very close friend in Dubai and we were always thinking of visiting. So me and my wife, we decided, let's go on a trip. And I look out for options also when I'm here. But then when I came here, I got into a job here. And I said, 99, so I said, yeah, but I will not make the same mistake of working in the same company for 10 years. So those days it was 3 years visa. So at maximum 1 or 2 visas. Yeah, that's it, with the same company. But I worked there for 10 years again. so 99 to 2009, I worked with the same company for another 10 years, which is Al Madani Group,
Okay.
Again, I mean, there was so much I could do, so much I could learn. I was comfortable. Mr. Mohammad Madani was a great CEO to have. And then I said, this is 10 years again. I made the same mistake. So now I need to change.
And what industry was this?
So I was always into supply chain. No, they were retailers.
Okay.
So they were retailers for brands like, fashion brands like Levi's, Dockers, Chevignon, Gas.
Right.
And I used to manage their logistics and supply chain.
Okay.
Then after that I moved again. I was with Al Futim Group, the retail division. I moved to another online retailer who was just setting up base for a year. And then 2013 I quit. 2013 I decided that now I'm going to be on my own. That was 24 years already into the corporate world and I always wanted to do something on my own.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy decision to take. So it took me about 5-6 years to think about it.
Yeah.
I kept delaying it. But then 2013, I
do you
reached a
have
stage.
like an idea in mind what kind of like what do you want to do after you quit your job?
So one thing which really I was passionate about was training. I liked doing training, teaching, I liked that mentoring stuff. But the challenge was I was very scared to speak. So that is something which I wanted to do, but then I knew that I had this challenge,
The
and
stage
that's
fear.
the stage fear of speaking in front of
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was very comfortable with people one on one and all that, but speaking to a group of people was a challenge for me. Yeah, especially people who I didn't know, strangers. So that is where a gentleman who was my CEO's friend came, and he used to come to Al Madani Group and give us some mentoring and coaching and all that, some motivational sessions, and he used to speak very well. I still remember his name, Dr. Jamal Variguti. So one day I took up the courage to ask him, sir, if I want to be a speaker like you, what do I need to do? And he gave me the reply in 2 words. He said, join Toastmasters. So he was a Toastmaster in Dubai Petroleum. And that's when I first visited Dubai Toastmasters Club. And then the rest is history, yeah. And that 2 words that he gave me that day changed my life completely, because that then was the stepping stone towards moving into whatever I'm doing today. So I've been with Toastmasters for 22 years now. And that gave me enough courage to speak, and I started trainings.
22 years in Toastmasters. I think, I know it'll be difficult to summarize everything into probably 3 points, but if you were to give like 3 things or 3 key benefits that you've got from Toastmasters, or 3 reasons why people should join Toastmasters, what would those be?
So it's very difficult to say 3 reasons, because each person's agenda is different. I mean, their goals are different. Now, my goal was very clear. I wanted to get rid of my fear of speaking because I wanted to get into training. But then I went there for that, yeah. But the benefit that you get out of this program is much beyond improving your communication skills and leadership skills. It actually boosts your confidence in yourself. And that boosting of confidence then makes you do things which you never even thought you will be able to do. So that's how. So although if you really want me to talk about 3 things, one is, of course, you're improving your confidence as a speaker. Of course, you are networking with like-minded people who are passionate about improving themselves. So it's a very motivated group of people. And third is, of course, you get opportunities, leadership opportunities, which you practice. So I always say that Toastmasters Club is where the practice happens. And whatever you learn from that practice sessions, you actually use it in your real life, in your personal and professional life.
You're okay to do mistakes in that.
It's where the game is practiced. It's not where the real game is played. The real game is played outside the club in your real life. But that's where you learn things. So there are so many things, yeah. So my journey of speaking and getting into training, and today being an entrepreneur who runs a training company, a lot of that success, credit for a lot of that success goes to this program, Toastmasters program. I always be indebted to that.
Let's talk about the financial aspect of it. Like when you've been working for, let's say, 24 years, and you were probably already in your early 40s by this time.
Yeah.
Right?
So by the time when I really quit the corporate world in 2013, I'm not good at maths, but I'm close to 50 probably. And that's one of the reason why I decided to take that call. I said, in a few years, I'm going to be 50. Then it's going to be too late. So if I need to do something, I need to do it now. It was suddenly a wake-up call, that I've been thinking about doing it for so long. But I realized that just thinking is not enough. You have to take an action.
So, VP sir, this point that you just said, right, is the point at which a lot of people are stuck, which is they are in their corporate job, they have a salary, they run their family with that money, right, and they don't know that how do I quit this job and start something on my own. How am I going to pay the bills? Right? We've got bills to pay. How did you manage that? I'm sure this question must have come to you.
Yeah. So, so again, like I said, if you have a lot of huge bank balance, then taking risk is easy. But for a person like me with two kids, and it was not easy decision to take that, because when you quit the corporate world, suddenly that tap runs dry. Monthly paycheck coming into your bank account stops. So you have to plan. And to plan that, you need to speak to people, your environment, the people who get affected by that action of yours. That's very important, especially the family. Yeah. So for me, the most important person was my wife, because ultimately it's our responsibility to run the family. So I spoke to her, and yeah, initially she had her own doubts about whether I'm doing the right thing. But seeing the passion in me, seeing what I wanted to do, she gave me her full support. So whatever I was able to achieve today, till now, is thanks to her. Without her support, no way I would have been able to. So she said, you go ahead and do what you want. I will take care. Because she was working. She said, we'll manage with my salary. And without that, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Even recently during COVID, when my business was like badly affected, the entire training business was affected. But we sailed through only because of her. Yeah, so she was always there behind me. My mom was always very supportive to me in every way, but when it came to business, she would say, yeah, good idea, but go to the office 5 days a week. Whatever else you want to do, do it during weekends. So she never wanted me to quit my job.
What's your take on that? Like, a lot of people think that they can do that. Like, I'll still keep your job and do something on the side.
Yeah, that's how it should start, and that's how I started.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't quit my job. Okay, from tomorrow I will do training. No, I was already doing trainings on weekends. So I did that for about 5-6 years, even when I was working. So before I quit, 5 to 6 years, I was working 7 days a week, because 5 days in the office, and Thursdays, those days it was Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So Fridays and Saturdays I would be training. So I used to do trainings for a training company, a very well-known training company here, who's a close friend of mine. Fridays I would be training in Dubai, and Saturdays I would be training in Abu Dhabi for many years. But then that got tiring, because you never had any day off or free time. But then I also realized in the process that what I'm doing on weekends is more interesting than what I do on weekdays. So I started enjoying it. Yeah, then I realized I had got the guts that, hey, what I'm doing, I can,
That gave you the confidence.
Confidence. So it has to be like that. It's a bad idea to just stop everything and jump into without knowing where you're going. You test the waters first.
Yeah.
That's very important. How cold, how hot, how deep, and then get in.
And when it comes to training, like you started, in the field of training, there are two things, right? At least this is the way I, look at training. There is the content, and there is the technique of delivering or training people. So the art of training it's kind of universal. Whether you're a math teacher teaching someone math, or whether you're a technical person teaching someone how to build a rocket ship, the art of teaching someone is common. But then that technical part, like, does a trainer have to be an expert in one particular thing, or what was your specialty?
So coming to your first point, I disagree.
Okay.
So teaching is very different from training. Yeah, teaching is where a teacher comes and she has a subject and she's the knowledgeable one in the room, and the children are learning. So she's sharing that knowledge with them, right? Training is different, because as a trainer, I would have people who are more knowledgeable than me sitting in the room. So when I started teaching, I used to teach only supply chain, because that was my supply chain and related stuff like procurement and things like that, related topics. But I would have very senior supply chain directors and supply chain professionals sitting there, who are probably more experienced than me, more knowledgeable than me. but they're attending the training program for because they want to complete that program, get the certification, whatever. So training is very different than teaching, you know. So here we don't call ourselves trainers. That's the reason we call ourselves a training facilitator. So we are just facilitating a training program. Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion that happens. There's a lot of sharing of knowledge that happens. Yeah. That's so it's learning from each other.
Okay.
Yeah, not like a classroom where, you know, where the, or a university where the professor comes or teacher comes, because they are somebody who is most knowledgeable about it. The others are just learning. But here it's different. Here, you know, in adult learning is very different. So when we do have our training programs, there are people who come who are much more knowledgeable than us. Yeah. So, and there's so much we learn from them. In the discussions during the training program.
And the others learn from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of group learning that happens.
And so teaching versus training. And then there is coaching. What's the difference between a trainer and a coach?
So a trainer is coming with a set agenda, that these are the topics that we need to discuss today, we need to cover today. There's a plan, you know. Coaching is very different. And a lot of people misunderstand what coaching is. Some people think that it is mentoring. Some people think it is consultancy. No. Coaching is very different. You know? So, for example, in consultancy, you need to be a expert on that particular thing because, so for example, I'm a supply chain guy, right? So if somebody comes to me to set up a warehouse, I will tell them exactly how it needs to be set up, because that's coming as a consultant, right? If a mentor, for mentoring, somebody comes to me for mentoring, okay, I have this challenge, what do? I will share information based on my experience related to that, whatever that topic is. And that's mentoring, you know, you're sharing your own personal experiences and probably guiding that person. Why don't, this worked for me, why don't you try this? Yeah? Coaching is very different. We don't tell that person what to do. So coaching is a process. And I always call it a very empowering process, where you're empowering the other person to come up with their own strategies or their own solutions by themselves. We just help them in the process. Yeah. So we are helping them to reflect, tap into their own resources, and come up with their own solutions.
By asking questions?
By asking reflective questions. So questioning skills become very important here. So in a normal coaching session, you know, 80% of the time, it's the client who speaks. The coach speaks only 20% of the time. And out of that 20% also, 80% of the time, you're just asking reflective questions, you know. So it's about taking that person from his or her current level of thinking to a completely different level of thinking by asking those reflective questions. So questioning is a key. Asking the right questions is the key in coaching. But yeah, a lot of coaches end up giving advice, which is not what the coaching is, because then you're not empowering that person.
Yeah. You kind of, you know, you're imposing your way onto somebody.
Because when we tell somebody what to do, remember that worked for you, but that doesn't mean that it will work for the other person. Where the other person's situation is completely different from what you had, you know. So he knows what is best for him. As a coach, it's my responsibility to help him to come up with his own strategies and solutions.
So under UV Consultants, you're helping people become coaches, right? You're helping them with certified training and become coaches. How does that happen? Like, can you tell us more about?
So initially, when we started the company in 2015, 2013 I quit. Then 2013 to 2015, I was like a freelance trainer. 2015, we started off UV Consultants with a very good friend of mine, Uma. She was also a Toastmaster. She's moved back to India now. So those days we were focusing only on corporate trainings. Yeah, so we used to do trainings based on what the client needs, you know, and more of skill development trainings, like leadership trainings and soft skills and things like that. Of course, I used to do my supply chain trainings also. But then during COVID, what happened is, you know, the corporates who were busy with their own problems.
And
So
face-to-face trainings were all
stopped, and even corporates were not even thinking of training.
Yeah.
Because they had so many issues, so that completely, stopped basically. We were doing a bit of training here and there online. That's when I changed the strategy. So that's when we were doing coach trainings those days also, but I started focusing more on that. So we got a lot of programs approved by the International Coaching Federation. So we started helping people to become an ICF accredited coach, like we can earn an ICF ACC or a PCC. We started incorporating a lot of tools which are useful in coaching, like neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence. We have something called the well-being coach, which is mindfulness based. So different tools and techniques which helps you to be a better coach. And of course accreditations, certifications from globally recognized bodies like American Board of NLP, International Coaching Federation, etc. So I shifted the focus there, and that's where the focus is now. Although we still do corporate trainings as and when we get some projects, but the focus is here. This is where we are exploring to expand in a big way.